Welcome to this ANN7 special investigation into the world of cybercrime in South Africa, focusing on syndicates. Theft under false pretenses is fast becoming a lot more common in South Africa, facilitated not only through dating websites, but even on the most common social platform, Facebook. I met up with two victims whose lives have been ruined to different degrees, but whose stories tell a similar tale which they both believe must serve as a warning to everyone. Oh, and don't be fooled. Not all victims are uneducated or desperate for companionship. Their stories are a tale of emotional manipulation at its best.
I received an invite on Facebook from somebody that I really didn't know. So at that stage, I did not accept him as a friend because I was too busy with work. And a few weeks later, on one Friday evening, while I was bored, I went through all my invitations, and then I came across this person's name. And then I noticed that he's from Newark in the States. And I thought that he was one of my friend's life partner that's staying in the States. So I accepted him as a friend. So after some time, he asked me if we can chat via email. So I sent him my private email address, and we started to communicate via private email.
I met this person on a dating website. The name of the website is Thunderbolt City. He said he lived in Cape Town because I was planning to move to Cape Town. So I was just trying to find a friend to get some information on schools and different areas to live in Cape Town. And then I started talking to him on the actual website. And then he sent me his email address, and from there we started talking on email. And then exchanged phone numbers, and after that he started phoning me.
After establishing initial contact, scamsters begin the process of gaining a person's trust. These are professional syndicates. They don't give away their intentions on the first day, first week, or even in the first month. Eventually, though, the subject of loaning money does come up. And some of the narratives these syndicates invent are ruthlessly ingenious.
We communicated for more than a month, but you must remember they're very, very clever. They've got a way to get answers and info out of you without you knowing that you give info and disclose personal info that they are looking for. At that stage, I was involved in a car accident and my car was written off, and I didn't thought that it was something wrong to disclose that info with him. So I shared with him that my car was written off and that I had to replace my car and that the insurance was paying out for my car. So he got all that info out of me, and he asked me where I'm staying. Am I staying in a house? What area am I staying? But I made it very clear that I'm not interested in a relationship. And he said to me, well, he's looking for love and he wants to get married. So we chatted about a lot of stuff. And then out of the blue, he said to me, well, it's his daughter's birthday. And he's working on an oil rig, and he's a foreigner, and he hasn't got a bank account, and he really wants to send her some money for her birthday. What will I lose if I transfer a small amount for her birthday? So I did that, and that was the beginning of all my trouble.
So I spoke to him for quite a few months before on Google Chat. I've still got the Google Chats, And he phoned me quite a lot, spoke to my daughters, spoke to one or two of my colleagues at work. Yeah, we spoke for quite a while before he mentioned anything about money. Well, we developed a friendship and then a relationship. He used to phone me all the time. I shared with him that I was selling my house so that my girls could go to university. And after that, he said he had a contract. He was going to Joburg to secure this contract, and then he was going to Switzerland. After he arrived in Switzerland, he said that he'd bought gifts for the children. The first mention of money, he needed money for some kind of clearance to get the gifts through customs at the airport in South Africa, in Cape Town. He asked for 27,000 Rand. At first I was a bit skeptical, but I felt bad because he bought gifts for my children, so I sent the money. The first money was paid into a Standard Bank account number, and the lady was supposedly his nanny that was looking after his son at home.
Once the victim makes that first payment, the greed factor steps in. Through the private conversations they've had, these syndicates know exactly how much money the victims are sitting on, and the next request for a larger amount soon follows.
Then the next big thing happened. He sent me an email on a Sunday morning, and he said to me his machine broke and he needs to fly the Chinese people down to fix the machine. And he's got some money from friends, but he needs X amount. Well, he promised me he will pay me the money back. And I thought, okay, being my fellow man, and okay, maybe I must help him, he's really in need.
He sent a photograph. They'd beaten him up badly. The photograph was of his face. He had bruises and he was bleeding. He was crying on the phone, please could I help him with money? Some tax issue, he needed to pay tax. They'd taken away his travel documents, and before he could carry on with the job that he was doing in Switzerland, he had to pay this tax money. I was at work. I didn't know what else to do. He knew I had sold my house and had the funds available. So I wasn't happy, but I went to the bank and I sent him 600,000 Rand. Anyway, he got the money. He said he wasn't sure if it was enough. I left it for a few days and he kept on begging and crying on the phone, and he said his son was at home with the nanny and he needed to get home to him, and please could I try. Anyway, I managed to come up with another 70,000 Rand.
Eventually, the scamsters can't keep up with their lies, and some serious warning bells start to ring in the minds of those that have risked, in some cases, their entire financial nest egg.
You know, no company will leave people in South Africa from China 3 months in another country just to fix one machine. So I realized something was wrong. I was trying to help him. I was trying to bless him like I'm blessed, and I was conned.
And then I started hearing from him less and less. And then I was trying to call him on the number that I had for him. I had a number that was a actual Switzerland number, because I checked, but I couldn't get hold of him. Well, when I tried to find him after the last contacts, where he was supposed to be in hospital in Switzerland, I tried to contact the Red Cross in Switzerland because I was worried about his son at home. And then I started digging, on the internet, looking for the pictures and checking out his email address, and I couldn't find anything. There were no pictures, no anything.
A common complaint among victims is the syndicate's crime is sometimes not even recognized as a criminal act by the police. Trying to open a case of fraud or theft under false pretenses at a police station is a nightmare. And the question on everyone's mind at this point, where's the money gone? Surely the police can follow the paper trail.
It never crosses my mind to go to the police. One of my friends phoned me one evening and she said to me, did I read our local newspaper? And when I read the article, I was in shock because the facts were exactly the same as my facts. That's how I got involved with the police. Since July 2014, nothing has really happened with the police. They're always busy investigating other cases similar like mine, but nothing has happened. They need to escalate this whole syndicate, this whole investigation. I think they need to involve bigger sources, maybe a cyber unit.
Yeah, straight away I went to the police. They said I must lay a case at the closest to my bank accounts, the police station closest to my bank accounts. I went and did a statement, but they never really took it seriously. They took the statement, but they didn't, after that, they didn't do anything really. They didn't say it was a scam, they just said that I had given him the money and they would take the statement, but they didn't do anything after that. I just want some answers, that's all. Just for the sake of my children. I just want them to tell me who he is and why. I spoke to him on the phone twice a day, every day. He's a person, he's somewhere. And why the law allows this to happen to people. I've put the money into a South African bank account and they must be able to find out who took the money and where it's gone. And I just think the police need to take this more seriously and the banks need to protect their clients.
Some victims have become activists to warn others against these syndicates, while others are still struggling to come to terms with what has happened as their lives lie on the brink of ruin.
It's my mission now to warn other ladies. So when I get an invite now from guys, I go into their profile and I send to all the female friends, all their email friends, I send to them a private message to warn them and say, please be careful. This can be a scam and please don't pay any money. And I've got several ladies that came back to me with their stories and thanked me because the guys approached them to pay money over.
Well, I've lost everything. I had a house and I had to sell all my furniture to pay the rent. And I've got nothing left. I'm living with my sister and I lost my job because I couldn't concentrate. I was just obsessed with finding this guy. So I'm unemployed, I've got nothing. I've got my car and my children, that's all.
A common reaction from anyone I met when making this documentary was how it is even possible that people will pay hundreds of thousands of rands to somebody they've never met, Clinical psychologist Franco Visser explains.
I think we need to realize that there's a difference between, one's intellectual capacity and one's social or emotional intelligence. To say that, someone's bright and that they are learned and that they have qualifications doesn't necessarily mean someone is emotionally intelligent or socially, intelligent. And to say that you are wealthy, that you are successful, that you have a degree or two or whatever, doesn't mean that you won't fall prey or fall the victim to someone who's out to target you. In the rushed age that we live in, we hardly make time for ourselves, let alone others. And if someone all of a sudden pays us special attention, we feel special. And these crooks, these criminals, they, obviously know what they are doing. They build up trust. They slowly go about, heaping them with praise, with attention, with making them feel special, with telling them they're the world. You can see the language.
Visser says people should cast their judgment of victims aside. People experience emotions and situations differently. But he says it's undeniable that what has happened to the victims will have a psychological impact.
If you were to tell your experience of being a victim of a scam like that to someone else, the first response of that other individual would be, "You idiot, you fool, how could you do that? Did you not see the signs?" But they don't have they don't have insight into how you experienced the whole the experience that you lived through, and what you went through with that individual. So it's about feeling like a fool, looking like a fool, and we don't often admit our faults and our mistakes. I think they must feel what I can imagine must be a significant sense of disappointment and mistrust in others, in the sex that they are interested in, who duped them, who abused them for whatever gain that they wanted. And that they will unfortunately take over into their next relationship or their quest to find a new relationship.
I travelled to Johannesburg to go meet senior investigator Glenda Paul from IRS Forensic Investigations. This team of private investigators is taking the fight to the syndicates and assist the police who appear to be woefully under-resourced and unprepared. Glenda, very often victims are arriving at police stations reporting these sort of crimes, and the police officers themselves are unsure whether it's a criminal or a civil matter. And very often the police officers will advise that the victims consult attorneys instead of taking it through the police channel and opening up a criminal case. Just take us through some of the difficulties in reporting these sort of crimes.
They're generally experiencing difficulty in reporting a matter to the police. It seems like the police members at police station level have difficulty in establishing whether an online dating scam is actually a crime and whether it's civil. And they seem to fall on the side of civil as opposed to looking at the fact that these women have been specifically targeted and groomed and taken advantage of.
What is the modus operandi of these online scammers? Are they using social media? Are they using Facebook? Are they using Twitter? What online platforms are they using to actually approach people?
Either Facebook or online dating facilities that's available. We've picked out that it's generally the more mature woman that's being targeted, and they in general are single women. A lot of the women are expressing embarrassment by being targeted, and in general you find that women are prepared to come forward and speak about things like this. But I think that there are male victims out there, it's just that they're embarrassed and they don't want to come forward with things like this.
Glenda, we know about the much publicized case where a woman appeared in the US on the Dr. Phil show, where she had been defrauded of an amount of about $1.4 million US. Just give us an idea of the amounts of money that women in South Africa are losing due to this online dating scam?
The amounts vary, but it does seem like quite a lucrative scam based on the amounts. The victims that we've encountered experience losses between 300,000 to 1.4 million rand. And the victims are scattered throughout the country. It's not just a national problem, it's an international problem. And it's as widespread from developing countries all the way to your first world countries.
Glenda, how prolific are these sort of crimes in South Africa? Is it a new thing that scamsters are taking to social media platforms, such as online dating platforms, to get through to potential victims?
You know, online scams they're definitely not a new thing. With the advent of the internet, it does look like these scams are becoming prolific. And based on the recent media attention on the scams, or specifically dating scams, it seems to be very common.
Does the South African Police Service have the necessary skills to be able to handle the 419 scams and the online dating scams? Do they have a specialized unit which investigates these sort of crimes?
There is an existing cybercrime division within the SAPS. Whether these dockets are actually getting to that level remains to be answered, because the experience that we found is that the dockets are remaining at station level, being investigated by the detectives at station level.
To get a better idea of who the people are that are involved in these syndicates, I next traveled to Pretoria to meet with a man who has defended these very criminals in our courts for over a decade. Attorney Peter J. spoke to me about his dealings with cyber criminals and what he's learned. Peter, let's start with how long you've been an attorney, and has defending people involved in all sorts of cyber crimes become part and parcel of the job?
I'd say I started with fraud matters already as a candidate attorney in '98, specifically from 2004, more cybercrime as it developed. These days, a lot of cybercrime, 419 scams, Nigerians, Tanzanians even, but most predominantly Nigerians. I've defended various people with online dating scams, specifically one large matter last year where America was fighting for the extradition for 11 Nigerians from South Africa to be extradited.
Over the last 10 years, why is it that it seems South Africa has become such a breeding ground for these sort of cyber criminals to be able to exploit South Africans?
I honestly believe South Africans are extremely naive. Obviously legislation, it's easy for people from abroad to come through to South Africa. If you do get arrested for fraud, depending on the amount, depending who the prosecutor is, depending on which court you're going to appear in, the chances of you being a first offender going to jail is very slim. Extremely, extremely slim. The crime has escalated quite a lot, specifically on the cybercrime. I do not believe that all these matters are prosecuted. I do not believe that all these matters actually end up at the police station where matters should be laid. And once it ends at the police station, whether it gets prosecuted is a different story, because they always look for the culprits, and they're looking for the scam artist, if I might put it in inverted commas. The fact of the matter is, I do believe, and that is only my personal opinion, that probably maybe 10% will make it to court. And I also believe, specifically when it comes down to cybercrime, in you'd like to become a hero. You'd like to assist a person to some other, whatever explanation, with other nonsense story they would actually tell you on the internet. And therefore, you have to be extremely naive to actually believe that story. And people believing these stories are not usually just people that's uneducated. Sometimes these are people that's extremely educated, that's got a tertiary education, and that's sitting in extremely high-profile positions. I think there are issues in each and every legal system all over the world. So I don't think this is something that is special to South Africa. The police are underpaid. They have got extremely high workload. I know some of these police officers try their level best. They really work extremely hard on certain of these cases, specifically the guys from the commercial crimes unit, where most of these type of crimes and scams would actually be prosecuted in. They really try their level best. But if a person is carrying 50, 60, sometimes 70 case dockets, and he's got to take all his time and spend it on those specific case dockets, it's going to be extremely, extremely difficult. The prosecution are also trying their level best, but they also have extremely high workload.
Tell us about some of the people that you've represented over the last decade or so. You've mentioned that they are highly intelligent, they're professionals. doctors, engineers. Give us an idea of what these people are like when you're representing them, how they come across.
It's definitely not a person without an education. Usually people with at least a matric certificate, some of them with a tertiary certificate. These are the people that's doing the white collar crime. I've represented doctors, I've represented professors, I've represented engineers, I've represented dentists. Interesting. There is definitely a sense of arrogance predominantly under these types of clients of mine, or this, if I can put it, type of client. Definitely. And Nigerians believe predominantly that they are the super race. They believe that the most intelligent, as you have said to me. And I've also seen that. I've seen what they've actually come up with. I've seen the scams that they have actually been tried to put together. When it comes to business, as they call it, they're ruthless, that I can tell you. They are total businessmen. And they believe in any business there's a risk, and if they can get the client, then they will do that. And I have had interesting discussions with them, and all they tell me is, look, we're not forcing anybody to give us money. We're not. If they want to pay us, they'll pay us. A lot of these people are God-fearing people. A lot of these people go to church on Sunday. I've seen some of these clients in church on a Sunday. Honestly, they believe and they pray. Which to me is sometimes flabbergasting. Clients that told me that they have got people in this bank and this bank and this bank, and they work together, and some of these people have been arrested and actually faced prosecution in court. Some of these banks do have people are infiltrated, and people are greedy, and some of these people are paid very little money to work, and if they offer 10,000, 20,000 and extra, they would actually comply with that request.
Being a defense attorney, it comes with quite a bad rep a lot of the time. Is it sometimes difficult to do your job knowing what some of your clients have done or have allegedly done? I mean, how do you rationalize that? How do you sleep at night?
I believe in second chances, and proper preparation prevents poor performance. So if I've got to come across a prosecutor, that defendant or the accused indeed has a right to legal representation. Whether I'm going to represent him, whether another attorney is going to represent him, or whether the legal aid is going to represent him, he's got the right to a defense. There are quite a few people that I have represented in the past, which actually turned from their wicked ways, and they're following decent lives right now, and they're making a positive contribution to the society.
Jay has some parting words of advice in this digital age where that random friend request or message from a stranger could be your first step on the path towards financial and emotional ruin.
When you open up your mails and something seems too good to be true, it definitely is. There's no get-rich-quick scam. The moment you've got to pay, or the moment you've got to transfer any money to whichever person actually made you that offer, forget about it, delete it. People are looking for a better life. People, good, decent people, are looking to assist other people in life just because they are decent people, and they are being really taken advantage of.
US technology giant Symantec in its 2013 Norton report revealed that a frightening 73% of South Africans were victims of various forms of cybercrime. The resounding call from both victims and those in the criminal justice system then, government and its law enforcement agencies have to do more to protect its citizens. South Africa's banks, where all of these ill-gotten gains flow through, also have some serious questions to answer.